Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh by Shalom Shai, by Hasham Bakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird among the heathens that look like the heathens. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone, coming at you with a quick lesson. And it's all about prophecy, 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 prophecy. And, and this man, he's once again trying to talk his way around reality and truth with pseudo science, with lies. All right. And that's what Esau does, because see, in the past, if you talked about aliens, you were a tinfoil hat wearing individual. It was a conspiracy, and over the years, I've seen more than I can even count and remember at this point. All right, up close, change colors, move in ways that no man-made craft can. I've seen it with my own eyes, and there's probably been millions of videos and sightings taken from Apple phones and Android phones and videos of individuals around the world to the point where they can't ignore it anymore. All right, and so what they're trying to do is control the narrative. So let me grab a quick scripture. This won't be long. It's just. And the first scripture is going to be 1 Timothy 6:20, man. This scripture comes out almost every other lesson every week. Because, these people try to use their small minds, try to understand the Lord, the creator of everything, of all things. It's like a newborn baby, fresh out the womb, trying to have a conversation with adults. All right, but this is 1 Timothy 6:20, and it reads, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, which is the scriptures, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. And these craft that they're calling UAPs and that they're calling UFOs are the vehicles that the angels travel in, the chariots of Israel. All right, they're referred to as clouds sometime in the Bible. All right, and the Lord, Revelation 1:7 says he's coming back on a cloud. All right, he left on a cloud, and he's going to return on a cloud. All right, which is a chariot. This is Revelation 11:11, and it says, and after 3.5 days, 3 days and a half, all right, the Spirit from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And that right there is the prophecy in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, the awakening of the Hebrew Israelites. All right, and it does say Hebrew in the Bible and Israelite. They're one and the same. Paul says, are they not Hebrews? So am I. Am I not an Israelite? Are they not Israelites? So am I. All right, stop playing. All right. And it's just, it's no coincidence that the Israelites began to awake around the same time that Esau, Edom, went into the heavens. All right. And Obadiah says that, once he went into the heavens, thence he will bring him down. America has been on a decline ever since that time, around 1969-ish, 1970-ish. All right. And the Valley of the Dry Bones. That's also when Elder Abba Bivens, all right, began to teach that the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were Israelites. Okay, he began to teach that. Revelation 11 and 11, 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to the heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And that's what's going to happen. Just like it tells you in Zechariah, just like it tells you in Wisdom of Solomon, and also in Ezra's the 13th chapter. That this is prophecy that this would happen. And of course, them trying to control the narrative are lying, because they don't want to acknowledge that what the astronauts have already testified, that they saw a 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall so-called black man piloting these vehicles, these ships, these chariots, these UFOs and UAPs. And so they're gonna, so you want to take, they're trying to say that something that has the spirit of the Lord, that it is not made with hands of man, is gonna crash, and then angels are gonna die, and they have their bodies. This is, it's almost comical. And in the past, you even talked about these things. You got made fun of, but now that they can't deny it anymore, they're trying to control the narrative. Just like they like to try to put black before Hebrew Israelite instead of just saying Hebrew Israelites. They have to try and control the narrative in anything and in everything. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30 real quick, because the curses are falling upon them. That 350 years, when they talked about that time in the Revelation 11 chapter, that was around the time 1619, 1620, all the way up to about 1970, 1969. So it's no coincidence or accident that these things happen in this manner. All right, but this is Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And it reads, And Yahweh thy power And it reads, And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee. All right? And these visitations are going to get worse, because eventually these you've already had the general come out and say that they have technology beyond man's comprehension. And of course they're not human. You see this U.S. recovered non-human biologics from UFO crash, former Intel official says. Yes, these are the same officials that now admitted that that the reasons that we went into Vietnam were fraudulent. The whole thing at the Gulf of Tonkin never happened. There were never any weapons of mass destruction. But yet, America went into Iraq, destroyed it, killed millions of civilians, not just but civilians, and doing the same thing now to this day. And that's with just so many. Those are just two examples of many. Almost every war was an attack and a fabrication done by the West, by Esau, Edom. This is what they do. But this is Psalms 104, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. The point being in verse 3 through 5, but I'm starting verse 1, and it reads, Bless Yahweh, O my soul, O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great, thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who covers thyself with light as a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain. And they've already admitted that when they're looking through their telescopes, that the heavens can seem to continue to grow because the Lord stretches it out like a curtain. All right. It says, Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. These things leave no heat signatures. They leave no emissions, no smoke trail. They can go in and out of the water. They can travel underwater at speeds beyond, never losing speed at all. Still traveling at the same speeds that they move like within a blink of an eye, next to a jet that's going at, the highest Mach, whatever they have. Make vehicles that are moving at 500, 1,200 miles per hour, 1,500 miles per hour almost look like they're standing still. Stop on a dime, go in the other direction. These are heavenly beings. All right, but it says, who maketh the angels, his angel spirits, his ministers of flaming fire, who laid the foundation of the earth. Verse 3. Let me go back to verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. All right? So he walking on the wings of the wind, and yet, like I said, it'll take the fastest fighter jet a whole almost 2 miles to turn around, with this thing going 5 times faster, 10 times faster than the fastest vehicle that by man, and it turns on a dime. Stop and change directions. So, of course, you think they don't have a chance against these things. All right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra 9, and we'll come back to the whole, so-called alien thing. But you got these fires that are going on, and once again, that pseudoscience, they're trying to blame it on climate crisis when this is the Lord doing this. The Lord is behind this. All right? 2nd Ezra 9. 1 through 6, and it reads, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou see part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So you got your wars, your rumors of wars, fires all over the world. All right, I'm hearing that there's 9 countries that are on fire over there. People dying. North Africa, there's fires near there. You got fires here in America. All right. It says, Then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And therefore there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, earthquakes all over the world, uproars of the peoples, riots, people going against their governments, coups, wars, rumors of wars. It's all happening like it never happened before. At the same time that the MOTB, that they're getting, that the charagma, the mark of the BESAT, all right, is being pushed. This isn't coincidence. This is the doing of the Lord. And once again, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, wants to play God, be God, or try to omit God and try to use his false pseudo-science as an answer to everything. Just like the embarrassment of him being the cave people during the time of the Dark Ages, coming out of their early medieval times, actually around the 7th century, 6th, 7th century, they started coming out of those caves. They were the wild men, all right? The wildlings on the other side of the wall in Game of Thrones, but they tried to push that narrative. This was 10,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, and 65 million years ago. No, it's because they were embarrassed of their true history. That curse fell upon them. Well, upon their belly they shall go. That's why they were grunting and braying like animals by the bushes, eating juniper roots. All right? That wasn't 10,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago. That was during the Dark Ages after the fall of Rome. When they were chased from among men up into the mountains. They got chased into the Caucasus Mountains. Because that's not their home. Their first home was the mountains, the caves of Mount Seir, Petra, modern day Petra. All right, which is full of Ishmaelites right about now. Most of North Africa is full of Ishmael. Those dark Hamitic Africans were pushed out of their land, basically, since after the time the fall of the Philistines to the Israelites. All right. But getting back into the 2nd Ezra, it says, Then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end is manifest. The end is happening right before your face, man, literally. All right. Even so, the times also in the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects. And I was just watching the latest Walking Dead, which is actually pretty good. And there's a place called New Babylon, and it takes so you got this city called New Babylon, and then you got this whole thing going on with Negan in New York, and he and Megan, they're trying to rebuild, and yet keep the new founded governments that are trying to raise up a control thing, keep them from getting control of the resources, because now they just realize they have an unlimited supply of power with the methane gas that comes from all the dead, from all the walkers and all the people that are dead. So they're taking dead people and using them as fuel, a new fuel source. And the lady in New York is worried about, these new people trying to come in and take control over what they're building in Manhattan, on the island of Manhattan. So it's not gonna, once this place gets destroyed and annihilated, it's not gonna get built back up. All right. Once those chariots show up and take control over the ICBMs, and then they start to fly those arrows that are gonna fly from one end of the earth to the other. All right. And the Lord's going to, those chariots are going to come and deliver the Israelites and destroy Esau, Edom's armies. All right. That's what's going to happen. Okay. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon real quick. Five and 1 through 5. Because only Israelites are going to get, beamed up, tractor beamed up, beam me up, Scotty. Scott means black, by the way, like Scotland, land of the black. But they're going to get beamed up, only Israelites, all right? Regardless of what they look like, because they're going to be changed, before they make it onto the chariot, because we can't go onto the chariot in these bodies now. All right, tells you that in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. But this is Wisdom of Solomon 5:1, and it says, "Then shall the righteous man stand up in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him and made no account of his labors." And that righteous men that are standing up are the men of the Lord. All right. And it says, "When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangers of his salvations, so far beyond all that they look for." They had some movie that came out in the 70s about when all the blacks got taken to space. They're not going to be aliens. And that's, and it's not just going to be the so-called, blacks. It's going to be all of Israel, Northern Kingdom included, which makes up so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and the scattered among the heathen that look like those heathen. So this isn't a color thing. That, like, once again, that's Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has to label and control the narrative regardless of what it is. So he's intent on saying black Hebrew Israelites when it's just simply the Hebrew Israelites. All right? Because some are going to look like, Arab. Some are going to look so-called white, Asian. All right? We got scattered among all people. But anyway, back to Wisdom of Solomon 5:3. "And they repenting and groaning for anguish of the spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometime in derision, a proverb and a reproach." Now the elites know exactly who we are. It's these Joe Blows and these guys. It just goes to show you that their oaths they just full of shit and lies. All right? And I'm willing to bet if you start matching up all the reports that came out before them to the ones that these guys make, you're going to find a lot of disingenuous information that doesn't match up with the reports before. But anyway, it says, "We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God and his lot among the saints?" So they're going to be forced to admit, the average everyday Joe, these so-called Christians and apologists and, small hatters, little hatters, they're going to be forced to admit who we are. All right, as they're getting destroyed and we're getting beamed up, and then the Lord's going to give us that power to come back down and to control these chariots. And that time is upon us. So regardless of how hard and how difficult it gets for us, we already got the victory. We already know the end of the movie. Even if some of us to die, said any of us who do die will be the first to get raised back up. All right, so this is 2nd Ezra's 13th chapter. And I'm going to start at verse 8. All right. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start at verse 2 and just read through. And it says, "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof." 2nd Ezra 13 and 2. All right. "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, a man waxed strong with thousands of heavens. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that was seen unto him." So when those chariots show up, that gigantic fathership and all the smaller attack ships that are going to be beaming up Jake and destroying Esau's military prowess, you know, it's going to be a horrific and terrible sight to see. All right. It says, "Whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all burned up that were heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire." So just like those sounds that you see those ray gun sounds that you heard in like War of the Worlds, you know, you're gonna hear sounds maybe similar to that. All right, you know, with the technology, wherever they look, they blast. Like when you watch the movie The Predator, you know, he had that mechanism that whatever he looked at, the gun aimed on it, you know, to you know, down to the dime. So when he looked at something, that's what got fired on. All right. It says, "And after that I beheld, and lo, they gathered together a multitude of men out of the number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." So the man that came out of the heavens, you know, these armies of the earth are going to try to fight. They're going to stop fighting each other. It's going to be the middle of World War III and try to come together against the Lord. All right. And the Lord's going to smash them all. And it says, but I beheld, and lo, he had engraved himself a great mountain and flew upon it." So this gigantic chariot, all right, like the Death Star. And it says, "But I would have seen the region or place where without, but the hill was graven. I could not. It's so big he couldn't see the end of it. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight." So he's going to put that spirit on them, even though they're afraid to fight anyway, just so he can destroy them before everyone, and it can be seen to demonstrate his power. He's going to put a spirit on them to fight just so he can slaughter them horrifically. "And lo, I saw the violence of the multitude that came. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth that laser, right? That fire, that concentrated fire, as it had been a blast of fire. Out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and it's going to be nothing left of them but dust. And all they were mixed together, so it's going to look like a tornado, twister of light, burning fire coming at them, right? And all they were mixed together in a blast of fire and flaming breath and a great tempest, and it fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid." So it's going to leave nothing but ash and dust of Esau, Edom, and the nations that try to fight with him. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, going honor unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakak Padash, Wa Abba Abal, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.